Captain Aria Rodriguez stood at the helm of the USS Hyperion, Earth's most advanced exploration vessel, watching as the massive alien ship emerged from the darkness of deep space. The vessel's crystalline structure caught the light of distant stars, creating a breathtaking display of colors that danced across its surface. After centuries of wondering if we were alone in the universe, humanity had its answer. "Status report," Aria commanded, her dark eyes fixed on the approaching vessel. Lieutenant Kai Patel's fingers flew across his console. "No weapon signatures detected, Captain. Their shield configurations appear defensive only. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, it looks like a greeting." The bridge crew held their breath as First Officer James Nakamura decoded the transmission. "Captain, they're calling themselves the Nexarians. They're requesting permission to establish diplomatic contact." That was 6 months ago. Now, Aria stood in the observatory of the Lunar Defense Station, watching Earth cities glitter like jewels in the darkness below. The Nexarians had seemed like everything humanity hoped to find in its first contact: advanced, peaceful, willing to share their knowledge. Their ambassador, a tall, ethereal being named Xylax, had charmed world leaders with promises of technological advancement and cultural exchange. "The energy readings don't make sense, Captain," Dr. Isabella Santos said, breaking into Aria's thoughts. The physicist handed over a tablet displaying complex data streams. "The Nexarian technology they've shared, there are patterns here that suggest they're holding back crucial components. It's like giving us a car without an engine." Aria frowned, studying the data. She'd had her own doubts about the Nexarians' generosity. Their technology-sharing program had focused heavily on Earth's defensive capabilities, gathering detailed information about human military systems under the guise of compatibility assessment. "Forward this to Admiral Kenzo," Aria ordered. "And get me everything we have on Nexarian ship movements in the past week." The response came faster than expected. Admiral Yuki Kenzo's hologram appeared in Aria's office less than an hour later, her usually composed face tight with concern. "Captain Rodriguez, we've detected unusual energy signatures at the edge of the solar system. Multiple signatures, consistent with a large fleet using some form of cloaking technology." Aria felt her blood run cold. "Nexarian? The energy patterns match. We think they've been positioning ships for weeks, using the technology exchange program as cover." The Admiral's image flickered. "We have less than 48 hours before they reach Earth." The next day moved at lightning speed. Earth's military forces immobilized as quietly as possible, trying not to alert the Nexarian diplomats. But it was already too late. The Nexarian embassy vanished overnight, leaving behind sophisticated sabotage devices in every major defense installation they'd visited. Aria coordinated the emergency response from the Hyperion, watching as Earth's defense grid struggled against the Nexarian virus. "Get me the Security Council," she ordered, just as the ship's AI detected the first wave of incoming vessels. The Nexarian fleet dropped their cloaking devices simultaneously, revealing hundreds of crystalline warships arranged in attack formation. Earth's orbital defense platforms, compromised by Nexarian sabotage, fell silent. Ambassador Xylax's face appeared on every screen on Earth and in orbit, his ethereal features now cold and predatory. "Humanity has provided us with valuable tactical data. Your civilization's resources will serve the Nexarian Empire well. Surrender now, and we will preserve your major population centers as labor colonies." In the chaos that followed, Aria made a discovery that would change everything. Hidden in Dr. Santos's data was evidence that the Nexarians had visited Earth before, thousands of years ago. They weren't just invaders, they were returning to harvest a crop they had planted long ago. But they had underestimated how much humanity had grown. "All ships, defensive positions," Aria commanded, watching as Earth's remaining fleet moved to protect the planet. The Hyperion's engines hummed with power as they prepared for humanity's first interstellar war. They were outgunned and outnumbered, but humans had one advantage: they were fighting for their home. As the first Nexarian weapons fire lit up the space around Earth, Arya sent one final message to Ground Command: Initiative Black Dawn is authorized. Deep beneath Europa's ice, in a secret facility known only to a handful of people, engineers powered up humanity's secret weapon, a prototype warship built using reversed-engineered technology from a Nexarian scout ship that had crashed decades ago. The real battle for Earth was about to begin. Deep beneath Europa's icy surface, Commander Raven Blackwood stepped into the massive construction bay, her footsteps echoing across the cavernous space. Before her, bathed in blue-white light, stood humanity's greatest secret, the USS Prometheus. Unlike the crystalline elegance of Nexarian ships, the Prometheus was all sharp angles and dark metal, a predator built for war. Final systems check complete, Commander, reported Dr. Nikolai Volkov, the project's lead engineer. His weathered face reflected both pride and concern as he handed over the latest diagnostic reports. The quantum shield matrix is operating at 98% efficiency. Better than we hoped. Raven studied the massive ship, remembering the day 15 years ago when a routine Europa drilling operation had uncovered something impossible: a Nexarian scout ship, crashed and frozen in the ice for decades. That discovery had led to the formation of Project Sentinel and the construction of this hidden facility. Status of the phase cannon integration? Raven asked, walking alongside the ship's gleaming hull. They had mere hours before the Prometheus would be needed in Earth's defense. Dr. Kumar's team completed the final calibrations an hour ago, Nikolai replied, keeping pace. The modified Nexarian crystals are stable. If our calculations are correct, the weapon should be able to penetrate their shields. Lieutenant Sofia Torres, their head of security, joined them at a brisk pace. Commander, we've received word from Earth. The Nexarian fleet has begun their attack. Our orbital defenses are failing. Raven nodded grimly. Begin crew deployment. I want all essential personnel aboard in 30 minutes. She turned to Nikolai. Doctor, I hope your team is ready for a field test. The massive underground hangar erupted into activity. Crew members who had trained for years in secret rushed to their stations. The Prometheus might be untested in actual combat, but they had no choice. Earth's conventional forces couldn't stand against Nexarian technology. In the ship's command center, Raven reviewed personnel files one final time. Each crew member had been carefully chosen, brilliant minds who had dedicated years to understanding and adapting Nexarian technology. Dr. Aisha Kumar, their weapons specialist, whose insights into crystalline energy matrices had made their phase cannons possible. Lieutenant Marcus Chen, whose innovative shield harmonics might be the only thing keeping them alive in the coming battle. All hands, this is Commander Blackwood, Raven announced shipwide. For 15 years, we've prepared for this day. The Nexarians think they know everything about Earth's defensive capabilities. They're about to learn how wrong they are. The Prometheus's engines hummed to life, their sound unlike anything ever built by human hands. The massive doors above began to open, ice crystals raining down as Europa's surface split apart to reveal the star-filled sky above. Engineering reports all systems go, reported Lieutenant Commander Jack O'Neill from his station. Quantum drive is stable. Shield generators at full power. Raven took her place in the command chair. Navigation, plot a course to Earth. Maximum speed once we clear Europa's gravity well. She opened a secure channel to Earth Command. This is Commander Blackwood. The Prometheus is launching. Request current tactical situation. Admiral Kenzo's voice crackled through, heavy with static from Nexarian interference. Orbital defenses are down. The Hyperion and remaining fleet are engaging, but they're badly outgunned. We've lost contact with our bases on Mars and Luna. Captain Rodriguez is coordinating what resistance she can, but without reinforcement. Understood, Admiral. We're on our way. Raven looked at her crew, seeing determination in every face. "Take us up." The Prometheus rose from its icy tomb, its dark hull reflecting Jupiter's distant light. As they accelerated away from Europa, long-range sensors showed the devastation near Earth, dozens of destroyed human ships, their wreckage scattered across orbital paths. Multiple Nexarian warships detected, Lieutenant Torres reported from Tactical. "Their energy signatures are stronger than our simulations predicted." "They've stopped holding back," Raven said grimly. "Now we see what they're really capable of." She studied the tactical display, noting the Nexarian fleet formations. "Plot an approach vector that keeps Jupiter between us and their long-range sensors. We'll only get one chance at surprise." As they accelerated toward Earth, Dr. Kumar arrived on the bridge. "Commander, I've been analyzing the Nexarian energy patterns. There's something odd about their shield configurations. They're drawing massive power, but the distribution is inefficient. Almost like they're compensating for something." Raven turned to her science officer. "Could it be a weakness?" "Possibly. Their technology is incredibly advanced, but some of their basic principles seem old. Like they haven't truly innovated in a very long time. They've just been refining the same techniques for centuries." That aligned with what they'd learned from the crashed scout ship. The Nexarians had achieved technological supremacy so long ago that they'd stopped looking for new solutions. Every problem was solved with overwhelming force rather than innovation. "How long until we're in weapons range of their fleet?" Raven asked. 30 minutes at current speed, Lieutenant Torres reported. "But they'll detect us before that." Raven nodded. "Send a coded burst transmission to Captain Rodriguez on the Hyperion. Tell her to be ready. The Nexarians aren't the only ones who can spring a surprise." The Prometheus streaked through space, carrying humanity's hopes with it. They had one ship against an alien armada. But sometimes, Raven thought, one ship was enough, if it was the right ship, with the right crew, at the right moment. "All hands, battle stations," she ordered. "Let's show them what human ingenuity can do." The void between Mars and Earth erupted with energy as the Prometheus dropped out of quantum drive. On the bridge, Commander Raven Blackwood watched the tactical display with controlled intensity. Dozens of Nexarian warships surrounded Earth, their crystalline hulls glowing with power as they systematically destroyed humanity's orbital defenses. "Multiple enemy contacts," Lieutenant Torres announced. "They're detecting us, now." The response was immediate. 3 Nexarian cruisers broke formation, their weapons charging as they moved to intercept. Through the main viewport, Raven could see their crystalline structures shifting, reconfiguring for combat. "Now we see if our modifications work," Raven said. "Lieutenant Chen, shields at full. Dr. Kumar, prepare the phase cannons." The first Nexarian blast struck the Prometheus head-on. The bridge crew tensed, but Lieutenant Chen's modified shields held, absorbing and dispersing the energy in ways the aliens had never seen. "Shield efficiency at 92%, Chen reported, his fingers dancing across his console. "The harmonics are adapting just like we theorized." Dr. Kumar's voice came from the weapons station. "Phase cannons charged. The crystals are stable and resonating at the calculated frequency. Target their lead ship," Raven ordered. "Let's show them something new." The Prometheus's main weapons fired, releasing beams of energy that shifted phase as they traveled. The Nexarian shields, designed to block normal energy weapons, couldn't adapt fast enough. The beams struck home, cutting deep gashes in the alien ship's crystalline hull. "Direct hit," Torres called out. Enemy vessel showing significant damage to their primary systems. The Nexarian response was swift and brutal. The damaged ship pulled back as 4 more moved forward, their weapons combining into a single, devastating beam. "Evasive maneuvers," Raven commanded. The Prometheus rolled and dove, its experimental engines giving it maneuverability that seemed impossible for a ship its size. Most of the combined beam missed, but even a glancing hit made the ship shudder. "Shields holding at 73%, Chen reported. "But we can't take many hits like that." Through the chaos of battle, a familiar voice came through the comm system. "Prometheus, this is Captain Rodriguez on the Hyperion. Good to see our secret weapon has arrived." Raven allowed herself a small smile. "Captain, I see you're still giving them hell. What's your status?" "We've been better," Arya replied, as the Hyperion executed a daring maneuver between two Nexarian ships. "But your arrival has them rattled. They've never seen anything like your ship." "Let's press that advantage," Raven said. "We're detecting vulnerabilities in their shield harmonics. Sending the data now." The remaining Earth fleet rallied around the Prometheus, coordinating their attacks with its advanced sensors. For the first time since the battle began, the Nexarians were being forced to adapt to human tactics rather than the other way around. Multiple enemy ships adjusting their shield frequencies, Dr. Kumar reported. "They're learning, but each adjustment costs them power. Their efficiency is dropping." The battle intensified as more Nexarian ships joined the fight. The space around Mars became a chaos of energy beams, quantum torpedoes, and crystalline fragments from damaged ships on both sides. "Commander." Lieutenant O'Neill called from engineering. "The quantum drive is showing unusual readings. That last hit may have affected the containment field." Before Raven could respond, sensors detected a massive energy spike from the Nexarian flagship. A new weapon unfurled from its hull, looking like a blooming crystal flower made of pure energy. "All ships, scatter." Raven commanded, but it was too late. The weapon fired, releasing a wave of quantum disruption that swept through the battlefield. Human and Nexarian ships alike tumbled as their systems went haywire. "We're losing power." Chen shouted over the sound of overloading systems. "Shields failing." The Prometheus spun through space, its advanced technology temporarily paralyzed by the Nexarian attack. Through the viewport, Raven watched helplessly as two Earth ships succumbed to enemy fire. But even as systems failed around her, Dr. Kumar was furiously working at her station. "Commander. The quantum disruption, it's similar to the resonance patterns we discovered in the crashed scout ship. If we can modify our phase cannons to match the frequency." "Do it." Raven ordered, gripping her chair as another blast rocked the ship. "Engineering, give her everything you can spare." As the Nexarians moved in for the kill, humanity's finest minds raced against time. The fate of Earth would be decided in the next few moments, and the Prometheus's crew knew they wouldn't get a second chance. The real question was, had humanity learned enough from its study of Nexarian technology to turn the aliens' own weapons against them? The answer would determine the future of both species. Dr. Kumar's fingers flew across her console as the Prometheus drifted, its system struggling to recover from the Nexarian quantum disruption. Around them, the battle had devolved into chaos, with disabled ships from both sides tumbling through space. "Rerouting power through the auxiliary crystals," she announced, her voice steady despite the pressure. "Commander, if I'm right about this, we can use their own quantum disruption wave to supercharge our phase cannons." Raven watched as more Nexarian ships moved into position around them. "How long?" 3 minutes. "Maybe less if Lieutenant O'Neill can get us more power to the weapons array." "Engineering here," O'Neill's voice crackled through the damaged comm system. "Redirecting emergency power now." "But Commander, the quantum drive containment is becoming unstable. Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it fast." Through the viewport, Raven saw the Hyperion engage 2 Nexarian cruisers, drawing their fire away from the vulnerable Prometheus. Captain Rodriguez was buying them time, but at a terrible cost. The Hyperion's hull was scarred from multiple direct hits. "Status of our shields?" Raven asked. Lieutenant Chen worked furiously at his station. Partial power restored. Maybe 30% effectiveness. Not enough to withstand another concentrated attack. The Nexarian flagship's crystal flower weapon began to glow again, preparing for another blast. But this time, Dr. Kumar was ready. Phase cannon modifications complete, she called out. The crystals are resonating at exactly the right frequency. But Commander, this is purely theoretical. We have no way to test it first. Raven straightened in her command chair. Sometimes theory is all we have. Target their flagship's weapon array and fire when ready. The Prometheus's modified phase cannons fired, their beams taking on an otherworldly purple glow. As they struck the Nexarian weapon, something extraordinary happened. Instead of causing damage, the beams created a feedback loop, channeling the quantum disruption back through the alien fleet's crystalline network. Multiple enemy ships losing power, Torres reported, excitement creeping into her voice. Their linked crystal systems are transmitting the disruption to each other. They can't shut it down fast enough. The Nexarian fleet's perfect formation began to break apart as ship after ship lost power. Their crystalline hulls, designed to work in harmony, had become their greatest weakness. All Earth ships, Raven broadcast. Target any powered Nexarian vessels. Don't let them adapt to this. The remaining human fleet pressed their advantage. The Hyperion, despite its damage, led a daring attack run that destroyed 3 disabled Nexarian cruisers. Other Earth ships followed, their conventional weapons now effective against the aliens' weakened shields. But the Nexarians weren't finished. Their flagship, larger and more robust than the others, began to recover. Its crystal flower weapon retracted, but new configurations appeared along its hull. They're activating some kind of emergency system, Dr. Kumar warned. Energy readings are off the charts. This is technology we've never seen before. The flagship's entire hull began to pulse with light, sending out waves of energy that helped nearby Nexarian ships regain power. It was like watching a crystalline heart pumping life back into a failing body. They're adapting faster than expected, Chen reported. Our advantage is slipping. Raven studied the tactical display, noting how the energy flowed from ship to ship through the Nexarians' linked crystal systems. Then she saw it, a pattern in their recovery, a rhythm to their resurgence. Dr. Kumar, she called out. Could we use the quantum drive's instability to our advantage? Create a pulse that disrupts their recovery pattern? Kumar's eyes widened as she ran the calculations. Yes, yes. If we modify the containment field to fail in a controlled way, we could release a quantum pulse tuned to their crystal frequency. But Commander, we'd lose our quantum drive. No way home. Better than losing Earth, Raven replied. She opened a channel to engineering. O'Neill, we need a controlled quantum drive overload. Can you give us that? Aye, Commander. But we'll need to get closer to their flagship. The pulse won't have much range. Raven nodded grimly. Helm, plot a course straight for their command ship. All power to forward shields. She switched to fleet-wide communications. All Earth vessels, fall back to minimum safe distance. We're going to end this. The Prometheus surged forward, its engine straining as it drove toward the heart of the Nexarian fleet. Enemy ships fired desperately, their weapons partially restored, but the human vessel pressed on. Quantum pulse ready, O'Neill reported. But we'll only get one shot at this. As they closed on the flagship, Raven could see the alien vessel's crystal structure in detail, its surface shifting and flowing like liquid metal. Beautiful and deadly, just like all Nexarian technology. All hands, she announced shipwide, prepare for quantum pulse deployment. Whatever happens next, remember, humanity doesn't surrender. The fate of Earth hung in the balance as the Prometheus approached its final gambit. The question wasn't just whether they could defeat the Nexarians, but what price victory would demand. The Prometheus hurtled toward the Nexarian flagship, its hull groaning under the strain of multiple hits. On the bridge, warning signals flashed as systems redlined across the board. Distance to target? Commander Raven Blackwood asked, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. 8,000 kilometers and closing, Lieutenant Torres reported. Enemy ships are moving to intercept. Through the viewport, Raven watched as Nexarian vessels formed a defensive screen around their flagship. Their crystalline hulls pulsed with recovered power, weapons charging for a final salvo. They're trying to box us in, Lieutenant Chen called from his station. Shields down to 15%. Dr. Kumar worked frantically at her console, making final adjustments to the quantum pulse calculations. The flagship's energy signature is massive. If we can get closer, the feedback loop should cascade through their entire fleet. Engineering to bridge, O'Neill's voice crackled through the comm, quantum drive containment is critical. We've got maybe 2 minutes before it goes, controlled or not. Raven opened a channel to the remaining Earth fleet. Captain Rodriguez, we need a corridor to that flagship. Copy that, Prometheus. The Hyperion scarred hull appeared on their starboard side, its weapons blazing. All ships, focus fire on their defensive line. Give them a path. Earth's surviving vessels coordinated their attack, concentrating their fire on a single point in the Nexarian formation. The aliens-linked crystal systems, still recovering from the earlier disruption, couldn't adapt fast enough to the concentrated assault. Gap in their defense screen, Torres announced. 5,000 kilometers to target. A massive blast rocked the Prometheus as a Nexarian cruiser made a suicide run, its crystalline hull shattering on impact with their weakened shields. Hull breach on Deck 3. Chen shouted. Emergency containment holding. 3,000 kilometers, Torres counted down. Their flagship is powering up something big. The Nexarian command ship's entire structure began to transform, its crystalline surface flowing like quicksilver as it reconfigured into what looked like a massive energy focus array. Whatever that weapon is, Dr. Kumar warned, it's drawing power from every ship in their fleet. One hit will vaporize us. 2,000 kilometers. Raven watched as the flagship's weapon began to glow with impossible brightness. Dr. Kumar, trigger the pulse the moment their weapon fires. Lieutenant O'Neill, pour everything we have into that quantum drive. 1,000 kilometers. Time seemed to slow as the Nexarian weapon reached full power. Through the blinding glare, Raven could see the alien ship's crystal structure had become almost transparent, energy coursing through it like lightning through glass. Now! Raven ordered. The Prometheus's quantum drive detonated in a controlled cascade just as the Nexarian flagship fired. The two energy waves met in space between the ships. For a moment, nothing happened. Then reality itself seemed to buckle. The quantum pulse, amplified by the Nexarian weapon's energy, created a feedback loop that surged through the aliens' linked crystal network. Ship after ship went dark as their fundamental technology turned against them. Multiple enemy vessels losing power, Torres reported, her voice barely audible over the sound of the Prometheus's straining hull. The pulse is working. The Nexarian flagship's perfect crystalline surface began to crack, energy bleeding from countless fissures. Around it, its fleet drifted powerless, their once beautiful hulls now dark and lifeless. But the Prometheus was dying too. The quantum drive explosion had torn through its engineering section, and systems were failing across the ship. All hands, abandon ship, Raven ordered, even as she worked to keep the vessel steady. Get to the escape pods. Commander, Dr. Kumar said quietly, the explosion damaged the pod launch systems. We can't evacuate. Raven nodded, understanding what that meant. Send our sensor data to the fleet. Make sure Earth knows how to defend against their technology. The bridge crew worked at their stations, none making a move to leave. They had known this mission might be one way. Through the viewport, they watched as the mighty Nexarian fleet, scourge of countless civilizations, went dark. Captain Rodriguez to Prometheus, the comm crackled. "Hold on. We're coming to get you out." "Negative, Hyperion," Raven replied calmly. "Our containment is critical. Just, make sure this was worth it. Make sure Earth is ready if they come back." The Prometheus's hull began to break apart as the quantum cascade reached critical levels. But its crew had accomplished their mission. Humanity had faced its greatest threat and proved itself worthy of the stars. In the years that followed, Earth would recover and rebuild. The Nexarian ships, dead in space but largely intact, provided centuries of technological advancement. Humanity expanded into the galaxy, stronger and wiser for their trial by fire. And in the Great Hall of Earth Space Command, a memorial stands, a piece of crystalline hull next to a fragment of dark metal. Beneath them, a simple inscription. "To the crew of the Prometheus, who taught us that humanity's greatest strength lies not in the technology we wield, but in the spirit that drives us to prevail against impossible odds." The stars had witnessed humanity's finest hour, and the galaxy would never forget.